I often get asked what radicalized me or what made me a socialist, and this is a really easy question for me to answer. Growing up, my dad was a teacher and a wrestling coach, and to this day, he's one of the hardest working and most passionate people I've ever met in my life. I'd see my dad wake up every day at 5:30 to read his Bible before going to work and not get home until 7 p.m. after running youth practice. Once he got home, he would usually sit down to do his grading until he fell asleep. And despite the heavy workload, I never heard my dad complain. He would always focus on the good parts of his jobs, like good healthcare benefits, which were fought for by the teachers' unions. But around 2011, Wisconsin's Republican governor, Scott Walker, started campaigning against teachers' unions. He said that teachers were being paid too much for too little work, and this was driving up Wisconsin's state debt. In order to justify busting up the teachers' unions and giving them a pay cut, Scott Walker began portraying all the teachers as lazy and selfish. And the Koch brothers, who are Scott Walker's biggest donors, started dumping money into Wisconsin to help him push this narrative. I'll never forget going to church on Sunday and hearing a woman argue that the teachers needed to have their pay cut because they were sleeping under their desks at work. And see, this is how I learned that all our politicians are disgusting liars. This became even more obvious to me when Scott Walker turned around and gave billions of dollars in state money to the Foxconn Corporation. This, of course, drove up the state debt, which today stands at $22.33 billion. Great job fixing the debt, Scotty boy. I hope the $5,000 a year you took from my family's table helped. And at this point, my family was still trying to rationalize Scott Walker's decision. They were saying, well, maybe the teachers' unions have gotten too greedy. But looking back, I realized that the only thing Scott Walker really cared about was his own political career and the bottom line of his donors. He is an absolute puppet of the American oligarchy who's willing to rip money away from working families and hand it right over to billionaire donors like the Koch brothers. Today, my dad has gotten a second job stocking shelves at a grocery store so him and my mom will be able to retire, while Scott Walker has continued his political career, which is well funded by oligarchs. Thankfully for Governor Walker, my dad is a soft-spoken, humble, and hardworking man. He'll continue to put his head down and work without making too much of a stink. However, unfortunately for Scott, I am not. And I watched you, Scott Walker. I watched you screw over my father, the hardest working person I've ever known. And I will not rest until I've organized the workers in this country against people like you and the donors you serve. You dug your grave when you did this to our parents. Our generation is coming for change. Get organized, y'all. Solidarity.